Hi there, everybody. I'm Christopher Clark here doing a fun random stream today. I'm going to do a little Italy scene. I'm actually using this as an excuse to test out some streaming software I'm trying out because the regular OBS software was killing my computer, and I'm using Streamlabs. Going to try this out, and hopefully this performs a little better. If any of you guys have tuned in, you guys have seen chunky streams, so we'll see. It looks like it's a little choppy so far. Uh, Hopefully that'll catch up here. Anyway, let's just paint and see what happens. That's better. It's already better. Look at that. Okay. Doing a fun little Italian oceanscape. The Italy ones are what I tend to do when I have my own free time, I guess. I think I want a little more purple. Yeah, these are just like recreational for me. I mean, I do sell them, and it is a part of my business, but they're definitely more of like my own personal joys of painting rather than what I have to do for the pop culture stuff. Maybe someday I'll retire from pop culture and I'll just do this. I guess maybe that could be considered a goal of mine. I know Nick probably just freaked out a little bit. Oh. I'm sure I'll always still do pop culture-y stuff too, but you guys know this is my true love is just painting fun, fine arty, landscapey, figurey, whatever stuff. I guess for one, it is a lot easier. Pop culture stuff is very demanding for my skill level, and this is just like, here's a fun memory from when I was in Italy. Yay, and I have a fun time painting it, and it's great. The pop culture stuff takes a lot more effort and preparation and get my fan going here. Yes, sometimes during this process there's just paint that's drying. And yes, I am painting on an old book. Hey Matt, how's it going? This is an old book. I've been doing this recently, finding old books at the thrift store, and I put the gesso primer on them, and it basically seals the book in this position. I can't open it ever again. And then I can do a fun painting on, almost like as if you opened a storybook and there's this scene in there, kind of fun. And then it's already kind of like framed, you know. I put a mounting thing in the back with a wire, and you can just hang it as it is on the wall. It's kind of a new thing I've been doing. So, well, that's done. Like here's one I did. This is the first one I did. So it's this book that I actually then paint the pages like that, sort of a cream, and then I paint this the actual cover a color, so it's like, you know, it's like a book, except now it's like a painting, a sculpture. I don't know. Maybe it crosses the line. Here's another one I did recently. I always do these fun little Italy scenes, so it's a little book, and they're just old books I find at the thrift store. Those are a couple new ones. So anyway, that's what's happening right now. Let's go a little darker, maybe a little green. Purple to green, how's that? There's always a gradient somewhere. Oh, definitely don't like that red. Those of you who've never been to Italy, it's gorgeous. And maybe I can take you there right now with a little bit of fun, sort of adventure-y scene painting here. I'll do a little warmth there. Doing a couple little layers. Hi there, Trevor. I had a scenery painting hanging in a pizza joint in Denver where I used to live. No kidding. Pizza joint in Denver. What place was it? I know I've been in Snarf's sandwich place. Used to be in a cheesesteak place in Golden. I don't recall being in a pizza joint. What place was it? I can't recall. But that's pretty cool. And Pasquini's. Yeah. If it's a landscape piece, then yeah, for sure. Might have been an Italian scene, actually. Yeah, Pasquini's on South Broadway and like Mississippi. Yeah, I think my stuff is still there, actually. They've always got quite a bit of it there, just hanging. They like it. It's nice decor, and it kind of goes with their shop. So I've sold a piece or two off the wall there. It's not really what it's for. Occasionally we'll sell a piece that I have to get from there to sell to a customer, but in general, it is like the decor, which I'm fine. Like, you know, happy to give the local business something cool to hang. And honestly, it's a gets the paintings out of my house and gets them to hang somewhere. You know? So yeah, it's fun. Glad you saw it there. Thanks, man. Yeah, when I first started my career professionally, this is all I did was Italy stuff. Italy and then a few figures and things, but mostly Italian landscapes, just because I love Italy so much, and I've been there several times. The scene I'm painting today is a place called Vernazza in Cinque Terre, which is coastal northwest, maybe 2 hours train ride south from France, if that. Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours, if that much south of France. Fairly close to Pisa, as in Leaning Tower fame. About 7 years ago, I did a good tour of woofing through Italy, which is like that farming work away kind of program. And one of the places I stayed at was like right by Pisa and right by Cinque Terre, so I frequented both quite often. It was pretty nice. Like one train ride away from either, I could just take a train, take a walk, and be at the Leaning Tower at Pisa and have lunch. You know, sit there and hang out in the park around, which is beautiful, and then walk back. Or take a train ride to Cinque Terre and spend the night there, do the hike the next day, jump in the ocean, come back to the farm. It was fabulous. If you've never done woofing before, I highly recommend it. It's such a beautiful, enjoyable way to see a country. Absolutely. I'll go a little darker. So yeah, sort of these are all been tests to make sure that this is a viable sort of substrate before I give a bunch of them to the gallery to sell. I'm like, oh, is this actually going to hold together? I don't want. I've in the past I've made the mistake of being too presumptuous with a new technique. I give the, that maybe the materials aren't quite proven yet, and it has physical problems. Starts cracking or falling apart or something when I experiment too liberally. So, got to be really careful about that. So I'll do a bunch of these and keep them before I give them to the place to make sure they actually hold together. It's really embarrassing when it's like, could you pick up your stuff? It's falling apart. I've been very careful about that since. A lot of my mediums are a lot more standard. I was doing some weird experimenty sort of stuff back then. Now it's just wood panel and gesso for the most part. But the book thing is kind of new, so that's why I'm like, let's make sure this works. Where's my white? Little sliver of sky we're going to see up here. I'm just setting that up now. If I can set up my values now, they'll be way easier to accentuate when I'm doing the oil. This won't be white, but it'll be definitely a lighter, more translucent kind of value pattern up here. Probably more of an orangey pink, actually. Spray this down. Maybe this is acrylic to start with. I'll do oil once this dries, which really only takes a few minutes. My water bottle, my spray bottle sucks right now. And I can sort of clean up the edges of this. I do make it look like a page in a book rather than a messy painting everywhere. So when this is done, when I'm done with the oil painting, then I'll take it and I'll actually can hold it in my hand and paint a nice cream color for the pages and paint the cover of the book a color, just to give the illusion of the book a little more weight. How's my stream looking? Looking good? Sometimes, yeah, that OBS software just made it chunky and it was only uploading like one frame every few seconds. And all my 3 cameras were out of sync. But I'm using Streamlabs and it looks infinitely more promising, gotta say. That's a great place to start. I'm gonna let that dry and I'm gonna keep going darker I try to get my darker values as dark as I can get them with my acrylic underpainting, because I like transparent darks and opaque lights. That's pretty standard painting method. As well as the fastest drying paints are on the bottom, the slowest drying paints are on the top. So that's why acrylic makes a great underpainting, because it dries so fast. And then so that way all the paint dries at the same time. You don't want your bottom layer drying later than your top layers, because then the top layers will crack. Let's keep all this wet. This is just really relaxing for me, doing these fun little Italy scenes. It doesn't have to refer to any fandom, or I don't have to get any like Easter eggs about the characters, or get any actor likeness, or I can just it's my own memory from my own travels, and I can interpret it however I want. I don't have to invent. I have my reference that's right here from a picture that I took, and I can play with it, So, it's very relaxing. So many stupid, crazy administrative things going on right now. Sometimes, all I have time for today is a silly little fun Italy painting. I gesso I gesso the edges of the book so that it'll lock it in there forever. It's a brand new thing, so I haven't actually hung any of them yet. I have the ones that I just showed in front of the camera a few minutes ago. This one looks like one page is a little loose on the bottom, but just in one spot. So maybe if I put some paint under there, it'll sort of hold it down, or something, glue or something. In general, it's like you can't. It's like a thick coat of gesso that holds it in. It's also stapled on both sides, so it's pretty. The point isn't to leaf through the book; it's to hang it and give the illusion that it's a picture in a book. Even though it is painted on a real book, the point is not to read the book anymore. Kind of just like when I've done a painting. I did a painting on a Fender Stratocaster guitar for the Colorado Rockies baseball team. No one will ever play that guitar ever again. It's now a piece of art that you can hang up and look at. Same thing with this. You can't read this book ever again. It's a piece of artwork. So, that's fine. I'm going to try out something on my camera here. While this is drying, I have an auto exposure thing. That seems to be working well. Exposure. That's a little more accurate, actually. Oh, good, that works. Yeah, it's a little darker, not so blown out. Yeah, thanks, Mary. I actually got this idea from another artist that I know here in Denver. His name's Michael Dowling, and I saw him do this at a couple shows, and I was talking about him. That's a cool idea. He gessos over some books, but he just does like charcoal sketches on them, and then leaves the whole thing white. Otherwise, so I'm taking it a little further by doing a full color painting, and then painting the sides a fun color, and painting to make it look like it's actually pages in a book. I'm sort of restoring the illusion of a book. So, doing my own sort of version of it. See, now we have a foreground. Look at that. That's nice. I could do a little less water and a little more paint, actually. By making the foreground darker, I am making my background lighter. Not funny how that works, because value is relative. There we go. Soften that edge a lot. Almost give the illusion of some foliage, which is what it will be eventually. So you already see it's like a seascape already, you can tell. Just touching up the sides already to keep them white. Be easier to paint over later. I think that might do it for underpainting. Sì, bello. Or is that bello? Is that Spanish or Italian? Italiano or Español? Bello. Italiano, tu conosci la città Vernazza da Cinque Terre, sì? Nella costa nord d'Italia. Questa è la paesina piccola, si chiama Vernazza. È la vista che vedi quando scendi dalla montagna, quando cammini a sud del Monte Rosso. C'è il Monte Rosso, e questo a Vernazza, e poi a Corniglia, a sud della montagna, e poi Rio Maggiore e Manarola. No, Manarola e poi Rio Maggiore è l'ultima. My Italian is rusty. I was real good when I came back. It's been rusty. It's also, I'm studying French now as well, so c'est très difficile à changer entre les deux langues parce que sont trop similaires. And this is the boring part, right? Watching paint dry. This is the artist's life here. Sometimes I'll set my fan up and I have my sketchbook and I'll just sketch while this is drying. Because I absolutely can't paint oil on this until the water's all evaporated. I think that could do it. Alright, that's another palette I can switch here. That's still drying. I'm going to switch palettes. And another palette with my oil already on it. And I will still use this layer. Oil palette. Much bigger, much more dirty. I get my brushes out and stuff. My fistful of brushes that I'll be using. I won't be using the big ones. I might use a little palette knife to do all the little tiny rooftops and things in this one because I want them to be tiny and sharp. On smaller paintings like this, sometimes I'll use a heat gun to help the paint dry faster, but I'm not sure what that would do to the pages of this book to have a heat gun blasting on it, so I choose to not do that. Looks like it's pretty dry now. So I gotta be careful because acrylic tends to skin over, but it's still wet on top, and you can just peel it away too easy if you don't be careful, which I've definitely done before. So this is a nice abstract view of what we're doing here. That feels pretty good. This kind of stuff makes you want to travel again. It's still my dream to like retire in Italy or France or Europe or somewhere. I love Europe. And I speak a couple of the languages, so that helps. I just love the old towns, the old cities. I want to live in the oldest part of town possible, anywhere I go. Kelly Jean Parsons, I don't know if you actually were speaking Italian or just saying that to be fun. I started rambling in Italian. I wasn't sure if you could understand me. What I was saying was that this is one of the small towns called Cinque Terre in Italy. This is the second one called Vernazza, which you see when you're coming down the mountain on the little path. It was closed for a couple years because of flooding and mudslides and stuff that happened based after some terrible storms. I saw it here. This was 2013, which I'm about to paint right now. And like I don't know, just 6 months later or something is when it totally got completely flooded and almost destroyed. They had to rebuild a lot of it. Really, really sad. Forgot to cover these with linseed oil. Hope they're still good. Let's do a little bit of oily funness on this one. Let's use this guy. I've got soft little brushes here. See now Now this is an oil medium, so now I have to go oil. I can't go back to acrylic ever again. Acrylic underpaintings are great to do as long as you, well, any water-based medium, you could do all kinds of fun watercolors, markers, dry medium like charcoal and pastels and pencils and whatever. And then when that's completely dry, once you go to oil, you stay in oil forever. You can't go back and forth. Oil always has to be the last one. Or if you started with an underpainting in oil, then you're stuck in oil. You can't do both. You can't go back. There's no going back now. This is a medium I put on there just to make the painting not bone dry. So it's almost like it's a wet oil painting now. And it brings back the darks. Because most paints, when the darks dry, they tend to get a little chalky. This makes them rich and juicy again. And you need those rich, juicy darks to make your painting have a full value range. I got this idea from Bob Ross, actually. He didn't do it ever quite like this at all, but he would do black gesso. Sometimes he would even do some fun stylings and textures with the gesso, and then let it dry totally, and then cover it with a little thin bit of oil, and then paint over it. And all the gesso was totally dry and locked in, and all those fun brushworks and textures and things were totally undisturbed, and you could paint over them and they would stick. So you'd have this transparent layer of cool stuff happening. Yeah, that's just got a lot of oil on it. You got to wipe off most of the oil, otherwise your painting is like soup, and your paint is just swimming on top of there. I just want a lightly oiled surface. That's better. Yeah, that's better. All right, let's start with some sky. We're going to kind of go a nice orangey, not Japanese, like orangey orange. It's going to be orangey to purple, as if it were a beautiful sunset. A little lighter, I think. Here's where I need to get a horizon. That's actually horizontal. Easier said than done. This will go a little pinkish. Still not too dark though. Maybe I can even do some fun little hints of clouds here. We don't see much of the sky in this painting, so just a little sliver is enough to indicate a sky is there. We don't need much. This looks like this streaming software is working so much better. Any other streamers out there, if you guys had any experiences with Streamlabs versus OBS, welcome to hear your input and your experience. But Nick, since we're doing this as a test today, I can say that it looks like to me it's working way better. the response time is just like instant. All three cameras are in sync. When I first started streaming, it took a second. They were clunky, but they caught up real quick. So that was great. Okay, let's start. I'll keep this as a sky color. We'll get a water going on here. It's going to be pretty light, maybe a touch orange. Orangey. Little darker here. That's too green. And I'm deliberately letting some of the underpainting show through. Because why do an underpainting if you're not going to let it show through? Just let your underpainting show. A little more purple in the water back here. A little lighter. A little lighter still. I want this transition to be nice. Nice. I can soften this or just touch up that edge. Is that horizontal? I hope so. Yeah. A little darker here. It's about here that our land, our little mountainy town starts coming into view. Whoa, too much red there. Some of these pigments are just so strong, and some of them are so weak. It's really hard to judge when you're mixing. I think this is where organic painting will always be more powerful and more sort of challenging as an artist versus, like, let's say digital painting, because I actually have to mix my color, and when I run out I have to mix more. So you have to know a lot more about color, I think, than a digital artist who just selects their color. I do digital work as well, more so in concepting, but even doing that, the act of painting digitally, you don't have to do nearly the work of understanding color and mixing it. You just pick the color you want, and it changes your perception of color and how they interact with each other and stuff. Which is fine. I think to be a better digital artist, you should paint for real, or use real medium, real organic media, it'll improve your understanding 100 times when you're doing digital stuff. And you will have understanding over color that your competitors don't. And your paintings will be better, and your competitors will have no idea why. There's a nice ocean. It gets darker in here, and maybe a little greener. Until it turns into foliage and stuff. All right, let's do our little buildings now. So this is where the value is going to get a little darker. A little more gray. Yeah. Where does that go till? Yeah, this is really more like a little oil sketch than anything. Some little rocky things. A little pier. I jumped off this pier right here. A little darker. Now maybe I want this to start getting a little more red up here. It's a little weird painting on a surface that's not totally flat. Yeah, and I think I want it to get a little more sort of a glowy red up here. Playing with the shadow here. Fading that into that. it goes up here, it might become purple again. But not so saturated. A little lighter even. Yeah, I want it to be further away. Almost becoming part of the sky landscapey. A little aerial perspective there. Here's a little harbor. Hi there, Burnt Beans. How's it going? Let's make sure I got this filled in. Let's do another glow out here, a little more orange. A little more pinky orange for some of these really glowy parts. There's like a clock tower here. See what the trick is, you get the glows in first, and then all you gotta do is add a couple highlights, and suddenly it looks like a city. It's a method that I invented. I don't know. Just painting enough glowy things, I feel like getting good at it. This one's a little more maybe yellow right here. Maybe we'll do a little more pink for these. A little more pink than that. It's still too yellow. This is kind of like a nighttime cityscape. A dark field with some glowy glows, and then you add some highlights, and then suddenly it's a recognizable, detailed little city. It's just so simple. There's this wall thing down here too, right along the beach. A little more purpley blue down here. Here's like this long dock. Yeah, I've painted this city several times. It's beautiful. This particular part of Cinque Terre. There's a couple of little ones on top of the cliff there. This makes you really find the rhythms and all the colors and lights into place. You want to start oil painting, but you're completely new to oil. That's all right. I actually have um, many oil painting classes, um, videos where I explain how to use oil. If you want to, you can sign up for our Patreon. You have access to all of them for as long as you want. I don't know if Nick is listening. You can post our Patreon link. But yeah, if you really want to get into oils, I have a lot of fun classes where I do a painting like this, only I explain it a lot more than I'm doing now. And you can learn how to do oil painting. It's I think the most powerful medium. It's very, very versatile. Nick, if you're listening, you want to post our Patreon link? Or I can just jump in here. There we go. So there's our Patreon. You're welcome to check that out. If you want to study oil painting with me, then there you go. All right, now let's do maybe a lovely more green sea right here. Come on, green. There we go. A little darker. Little darker. Give a little tropical sense to this place. Let's see, I might get a little more lighter and more orangey as it comes up to meet the ground here. Yeah, sure, you're welcome. Hope that helps. That's the most painting instruction I've been able to do recently. A lot of people said, "Oh, are you teaching? Can I study with you?" I'm like, I really haven't had time to do anything like really majorly, like taking on students or anything like that. This is really the best I can do right now, is offering my online painting courses. Because everything I'm saying that I would say in person, I say there. And then you can watch them all you want. I missed one light spot. Right there. Right up to there. Little boats is going to be right in here. And this is all plants and stuff in the foreground. I'll do that last. So I want the edges to overlap properly. I want the foreground edges to be in the foreground. You paint back to front in a landscape. So that way all the right edges are overlapping all the right other edges. Alright, let me just stand up for a second. I've been sitting for like an hour. It's good to stretch and periodically move around. Okay. What tool do I want to use for this? Sort of all these light orangey, yellowy, brown, almost everything's going to be almost white. Just get a bunch of them ready. Pink. Maybe a little more yellow in that one. Here's where I gotta build my little town. Now here's where I use a lot more paint. Some of these might even be white. Here's where you get to imply all the detail you want with just a couple little blobs of paint. And then suddenly, like, poof, there's a town there. Where did that come from? There it is. Just like that. There is some linear perspective here that I've got to remember to think about. Which, if you've never studied, you're doing cityscapes of any kind. Well, that's not true. If you're doing any painting at all, you need to know linear perspective. And if you're painting landscapes, flowers, cities, even if you're just painting people, people still are subject to the laws of linear perspective. You might be painting a person's face, and part of their face is above and other parts below the horizon, and you have to know that. Hey, it's a little town. Little town called Vernazza. Beautiful place if you get to travel and go there. Do the hike in Cinque Terre. Pay the €2 or whatever it is. Didn't used to cost anything, but now they eventually got so many tourists that they had to have a bureau of maintenance for the place. Totally worth it though. Spend a day and do the hike. It's fantastic. It's, I think, one of the most beautiful places in Italy. Been there many times. Every time I'm in the area, I will certainly go back there and make a stop. Couple little slivers of guys up here, little houses. It's like, I want that house right there. Cool, now I can start mixing some of the other colors I'm using here. Some reds. It's like you have to imagine, what does that red look like with this late afternoon sun on it? There's different purples and different browns and stuff. This is all still the lit side of these buildings. Maybe an orange. Maybe a little more yellow. Little cast shadow by that other building there. Oh, a little couple dots of towns up here. Oh, and there's a little tower that I forgot. Little tiny places up here. Alright, I'm not doing that just yet. Tower right about there. It needs to be more purple. lighter. Maybe a little darker there. I've been to the top of this tower. Maybe another painting I do will be what I saw from up there. I need this lighter purple. This lighter brownish purple. A little more red up here. Hey, look, it looks like a little town there. What am I using to paint with? It's a little hunk of rubber. That's it. A little tool that I made. I make a lot of my own tools because there's marks that I want to make that I can't find the tool that'll make that mark, so I have to make it my own. I have to make the, experiment with different things until something makes the mark that I want. I've used all different kinds of brushes and palette knives and plastic bags and pieces of wood and pieces of rubber, and just experiment. Sometimes I walk around the thrift store and just look at stuff and imagine what kind of mark it might make if I had paint on it. It's really, really handy, actually. Put it on a stick and there's now your tool. I just discovered the foam brush that I think I like a lot. It's kind of a new find. I've used them for more crafty kind of things, but the other day I used it for the underpainting for the DC ones I just did I did Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy and stuff, and I used the foam brush for some of the Poison Ivy underpainting stuff, and it worked really well. Like, okay, well, there's a new tool I'm going to use. Always looking for new textures and things. Here's this sort of beach right here. I've swam in this water. It's very cold. Oh, it's such a beautiful town. Not a place I think you'd want to live, though. It's like completely touristy. There's other streets on just around the corners of these where there's actual residents who live there. Because you wouldn't want to just completely live right here. It's all just tourist stuff. Here's this little jetty. Some faces of some rocks and stuff there. Go a little darker, a little more red for this right here. It's a cool place to walk around and sit and stuff. See, it's turning into a little town. So, incidentally, if you guys like watching me paint, please follow whatever streaming service you're watching, because I do these at least once a week, sometimes more often. All right, let's do some darker colors now, some darker purples and reds for the shadow areas. The shadow, which I have not done yet. Let's get some more quantity of paint in here. Yeah, that'll good for that. How about some dark greens for some of these yellow buildings, because dark yellow is pretty much green, very often anyway. A little more gray. Maybe some dark pink. There we go. Let's have fun with that now. Get a little bit of this in here. These colors way darker. Yeah, totally wrong color here. And I shouldn't use that for that. Let's use my smaller one. Just adding some color to the dark areas. That dark green is too green. Make that a little more purple. Some of those actually even get a little yellow, a little orange. I think they're getting some like reflected light. More yellow. A little ochre. Here's my light pink building. I swear everyone in Italy, somehow they have this consortium across the whole country to paint all their buildings the same color. And boy, it works. It's beautiful. Don't know how they do it. I asked an Italian that same question. Like, why do you guys have all your buildings the same color? How did you do it? And she said, because we have taste. End of story. Like, oh, well, that actually explains a lot. I also said, how come in a lot of your houses there's no carpet, it's only tile? And she said, because we have taste. Okay, I see where this is going. Never mind. It's true, though. They got great taste. There is a little bit of green here. Some trees and stuff. Get that actually on the brush. It'd probably be better to do that. A little bit of greenish here and there to break it up. This could be more pink, I think. Greenish, pinkish, something for this mountain going up into la distance. La distanza. I should speak Italian when I'm painting Italian painting. Una montagna che va allo sottofondo. That's better. Now I can sort of touch up some of these perspective-y things. We can do some ocean sort of spray stuff. Yeah, this makes it have the appearance of water just by adding some spray and a horizontal surface. Yeah, even despite this huge jetty, they just got hammered with a storm several years ago, and it took them years to rebuild. The whole city was just a big mud pit, and it was really devastating. But those Italians, man, they worked hard and rebuilt the whole city. Thankfully, I got to see it several times when I was there in one piece. Here's these rocks. Yeah, I jumped off this spot right here. Gotta be careful of the jellyfish, though. Lots of jellyfish floating around there. Basically, I have people on the pier watch out for you and yell at you when there's a jellyfish nearby. A little more of a height to this bit here. There we go. A little more definition to this bit right here. Makes me want to do this as a large piece. Sometimes these are fun studies to figure out which ones do I want to do as bigger pieces later. Alright, let's get some more color and do some boats. Some fun little details. Might actually need some blue. Nice, strong blue. I've got plenty of yellow. I think a little, oh, whoa, that's way too much, way too yellow. Little boats in a row. Now those need some dark shadows. couple boats out here. Alrighty, another paper towel. This one's done. Ooh. Couple little masts, maybe. Hey, it's a harbor. I love that game. A couple little smushes of paint, and suddenly it looks like something without any detail whatsoever. I'm really painting light more than I'm painting objects, which is what I think Impressionism is really all about. Some dark shadows behind some of these rocks. And a little bit of something right here to break that up. Every painting has a different vibe and different tools that I use. This one particularly, using mostly my little pieces of rubber. Because that's just what's working out best. Now we got to do some little windows. This is when the city really comes to life. And of course, as you get further away, we'll see fewer and fewer windows. Some of these I can later just scrape the paint off. And we'll see the dark purple underpainting underneath. That is super handy, actually. Do a little more white foaminess here. Oh, then I've got foliage in the front to do too. All right, let's fix this one thing and then we'll stop and look and see what's next. That's too dark, that mark I just made. Oh, you know what's fun I gotta do? These little yellow umbrellas that are down here. It's like a little cafe or something. And there's some blue ones too. Haven't done any little people yet. The people are basically little dark vertical specks. I'm just going to scrape through the paint. Look at that. Little crowds of people. I can put some lighter highlights on them. People on the beach, frolicking with delight. I love doing little faraway crowds of people like this because it's so easy. Some people have little shirts on, light colored shirts. My phone was just ringing. Let's do a couple little chimneys up here. Okay. Do a few more people over here. Playing in the water. Okay. I think it might be time to do some foliage in the foreground, and this one could be done. Let's see if I can clean up this edge here. It's a little better. How about this one? And maybe this one. Okay, foliage. Here's where I want my darkest darks. I might actually use a big brush for this. And let's mix. Where's my palette knife? My favorite palette knife. I don't know, do I? Oh, I'll use a different one, that's fine. Here's actually an Italian palette knife made in Italy. Alright, let's go. Some more dark greenish. A little more purple though. Yeah, this has to be darkest. And I can add some lighter highlights to this. Maybe I want more purple right here. This is where that nice dark underpainting is paying off now. It's so easy to cover that up. Maybe it'll get a little purple up here. And a little medium to make it a little thicker. Have it sort of fade off of the edge there. Look at that. Oh my god, it brings that out so much. Now these values make sense because now they're distant. Wow, that changed everything. Ha, that's great. The power of a value pattern. Now I'll use a brush for this stuff. Maybe I'll still use a palette knife to mix it all, because it needed to be nice and thick. This could be maybe like a mid-tone. Some of these I think need to be darker. Oh, this is so much fun. Such a great way to unwind when I'm stressed out. It's just to do a fun little scene like this where it doesn't matter, I can do whatever I want. Do some foliage. Nice thick chunks. We'll put some flowers in here maybe. It'll be fun, right? I don't want to detract from this, so it'll be dark. We can do some dark value flowers, I think. Like this is all in shadow. What about some purple ones? A little too colorful. If you don't dip my sleeve in it. Scoop some up there. Yeah, just to add some fun colors. Just because it's in the shadow doesn't mean it doesn't have any color in it. Leaves and things. You can scratch it up to make it look not so perfect. Add some texture. Add some palette knifey along the little wispy guys, sort of poking out. Maybe there's a nice long one there. Whoop. Maybe this Italian palette knife is better for this Italian painting because they're friends. Loro parlano la lingua stessa. Ecco perché loro funzionano meglio. That's a little too. Haha, look at that. That's amazing. I love this painting so much. It's one of those where like, okay, I know this is going to sell in like a heartbeat. As long as it, I get a whole series together. Yeah, I love this painting already. like I need a little boat. Like here. A couple little boats floating around. To give it some scale. Make this one a little bigger. Long little trail on this one. Now it gives a little more scale to the perspective there on the water. Well, that was fun. Let's stop. Just think for a second. Let me touch up this little part of this tower up here. I can touch up some of these. A couple little buildings on this. Yeah, sometimes you just have to stop paying attention and you'll find things. I could add some fun clouds. Only if they're fun clouds. We don't do none of those boring clouds. Just a couple little wispies on the horizon there, I think. Haha, look at that. A whole another dimension to the painting in 10 seconds. I have to say, sometimes I don't like when the paint is thick enough where the paint itself casts a shadow on the painting. Especially if it's a really light colored paint. Kind of interferes with the value that I wanted. Can do a couple more little chimneys and rooftops up here to break up that curve a little bit. It's nice. It's like you opened a book, like a journal or something, and you see somebody's, somebody's memoirs. It is technically my memoirs because I was there. All right, I think I might be done with this one. Let's stand up and look. Yeah, I love it. Could be a few more boulders and things right here to break this up a little bit. tiny bit of yellow right here. Maybe there's some cafes or something over here too. In fact, there were, I do remember them. Here we go. Any more blue? Let me quick make some nice bright blue. Here we go, little blue cafes, and those little itty specks of color make a big difference. You just smush a little bit of color in there. I really should do this as a big painting. It'd be really fun. Yeah, I might be done. I always say that. I think I want to extend these to touch a little bit better. Like they're actually splashing against the rocks there. That's better. Oh, it's beautiful. This place is beautiful. I want to go back. Can't travel yet. Stupid COVID. Oh, I do miss this place. A couple more little rooftops in here, I think. Part of me just like, I just want to go to Europe and just paint. And just paint this. It's so fulfilling and it's so nice. Someday. Sorry, Nick. Someday I'm going to retire and just paint this forever. So. This stuff just makes me so happy. I'm sure I'll always want to paint Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and all this stuff. I am a big fan of all those. Alice in Wonderland and stuff. Can't say that I would never do that anymore because I really do love them. I guess this stuff is just so easy and fun. It's like it's play, really. Okay, I might be done with that for today, and I can just stop and clean up and stuff. Yeah, so awesome. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Might only be a handful of you left. I don't know how long you stuck in there with, but thanks for watching. Follow us here if you want to see more of these videos. And then you can check out our Patreon, which there's a link there. I can put it here again. If you want to follow us on Patreon, and get all the cool patron-only benefits that we have for people, like discounts on prints and first rights of refusals on originals, which is pretty cool. And what else? Access to artwork that no one else has access to. And access to all these videos that I've done. I've done dozens of them at this point. There's time-lapse videos and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, check out our Patreon if you want to subscribe. Access to all my oil painting classes. If you want to study oil painting with me, all those classes are on there. And that's it. So cool. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I'm Christopher Clark. Follow me on social media. Facebook, Instagram, and such. There's my hashtag there.